kick. Right there. Swing, Scottie. Forget about Scottie B. It's Scottie 3. Scottie 3. Scottie 3 has got 23.
Between an impending lawsuit, past trade debacles, a spat between Scottie Barnes and Quentin Grimes last season, there's a lot of recent history between the Raptors and Knicks. But tonight on Giants of Africa night here in Toronto, it was the Knicks who were the victors, beating the Raptors in convincing fashion.
I think we're still searching our identity, and when you look at certain games that we played this year, like some of the great wins that we had against Phoenix the other day, against Dallas on the road, against Indiana, coming back from some deficits and then coming back in the game. We got to decide what kind of team we want to be, and we know what is the road to success, and we got to do that for 48 minutes. You know, we cannot come up to the games and choose. In this game, we're going to do it a little bit less or a little bit more. We got to have our really mindset, what it takes to win every game. And in NBA, it's hard to win every single night. It's very hard to win in this game. So that's why we got to stay together. We got to put a lot of work in and trust in each other.
It was a back and forth game through the first half. The Raptors, thanks to Scottie Barnes and Pascal Siakam, who combined for 30 points through 2 quarters, kept the Knicks defense guessing. Meanwhile, Jalen Brunson kept the Raptors defense guessing, scoring 14 of his final 22 points in those 2 quarters and carving up the Raptors defense.
I mean, they made a lot of threes, and we didn't shoot it very well tonight. I think that was the biggest difference. We didn't play with like 100% energy, I feel like, but it wasn't a bad game in general. I feel like we created good shots, we just weren't making them, and that fuels their offense, fuels their confidence, and then it just kind of snowballed from there.
In the second half, though, it was all New York. Randle and Brunson continued to carve up the Raptors' defense, and they did so by involving their teammates. They combined for 17 assists on the night, and the Knicks supporting cast made the Raptors pay, knocking down 16 threes, and the Knicks bench outscoring the Raptors bench 56-26. Dante DiVincenzo and Josh Hart combined for 10 made threes and absolutely dominated in the second half. Meanwhile, the Raptors on the other side couldn't buy a bucket from outside, finishing the night with 6 threes on 18% shooting.
Get stops, they made some threes off our rotations. They had guys come off the bench, shoot 7 from 9. Josh Hart was a key piece off the bench as well. They got some free throws going to the line, so they just had some good bench production that really helped them. So, you know, they made shots. We was trying to do our rotations, and they made shots. So we was just trying to continue to get stops, keep playing at our pace. We got a lot of good shots that didn't fall, but we're going to live with that. We shoot every day, and we're going to keep being confident on shot.
Scottie Barnes continues to be the silver lining for this team, finishing with a game-high 29 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, 5 steals, and a block, an incredible stat line that shows just how much he's progressing as a star in this league. Now, despite Barnes' performance, the Raptors lost this one in pretty convincing fashion, and that was because of their defense. And that is what we're going to dive into for the film room tonight.
So the Raptors got outscored in terms of 3-pointers by 30 points tonight. 30 points. Blake Murphy put up a really good stat that teams that have lost by 30 plus points in the 3-point battle have been 2-19 in the last 21 tries. 2-18, 2-19 tonight. So look, you're not going to win a lot of games when you allow a team to score that many more 3-pointers than you. Part of that was the fact that the Raptors weren't hitting their shots. Again, they shot 18% from behind the arc. They only made 6 threes. Scottie Barnes made half of their 3-pointers tonight. That's a part where we know, right? Me and you, we both know that the Raptors struggle on the offensive end when it comes to the shooting department. That's something that everybody knows. Roster construction, we can talk about it 1,000,001 times. But the defensive side of the ball is where the Raptors can control. They can control how many threes they are allowing. And tonight against the Knicks, they allowed far too many. And it was because of their defensive scheme. So let's talk about it. From the onset, the Raptors' game plan was to load up on Julius Randle and on Jalen Brunson. You see that creates a wide open 3 for RJ Barrett right there. Once again, they dig down on Julius Randle. That creates an open three for Jalen Brunson. And then a little bit later in the second quarter, this is another area where the Raptors struggled. The Knicks just got a lot of paint touches, and through those paint touches, they generated a lot of open looks. Now the Raptors defense is in rotation. Donte DiVincenzo feasted off of those rotations. This time, once again, a paint touch for Julius Randle. The help in Jakob Poeltl comes over. It creates a wide open three for Josh Hart. They were sagging into the paint because, well, the New York Knicks, for the most part, at least last year, were not a very good three-point shooting team. But Josh Hart, inconsistent as a three-point shooter to say the least, but he's had really, really good stretches in his career where he's been a 40% shooter. Donte DiVincenzo was a career 40% shooter. So this Knicks team is a little bit different than last year's Knicks team. Maybe that synergy login is a little bit different. That's a joke, but don't worry about it. Ultimately, the Raptors gave up far too many open threes in this one. And Josh Hart, Donte DiVincenzo, the Knicks bench that outscored them by 30 points, feasted on those opportunities. They made an effort to, limit and try to take away the soft spots for Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson. Those two combined for 17 assists tonight. I believe Randle had 9 and Brunson had 8. They just carved them up when it came to their playmaking. And you know what? Kudos to the Knicks. Very, very, very much so kudos to the Knicks. They executed that game plan to perfection. They knew that the Raptors were loading up on them, sending help on drives, and they created a beautiful offensive scheme that led to them just dominating in the second half. So kudos to them for doing it. Ultimately, the Raptors could only control that side of things. When it comes to the defensive end, we already know that the offensive end, they're going to have some nights where they struggle in the three-point shooting department. And ultimately, that's probably not going to change anytime soon unless they end up making a trade at some point in the year, because they just don't have enough shooting. They're relying too heavily on OG Anunoby to be a floor spacer for him. OG struggled tonight offensively. Gary Trent Jr. to be a floor spacer. He struggled tonight as well. And then you're banking on guys like Dennis Schroeder, who career hasn't really been a consistent three-point shooter. He started off this season well, but you knew that wasn't going to last. Pascal Siakam has been about a 30-31% three-point shooter over the last 4 years. That's not something consistent that you can rely on. Jakob Poeltl, obviously a non-shooter. I don't need to keep going on and on, but the Raptors don't have a lot of shooting. So expect nights where they, there's going to be nights where they're hitting their shots and they hit 40% of their threes, but there will definitely also be nights like this where they finish with 18% from three on only 6 made threes. It's just the way the world works when the Raptors are trying to, create a roster like this. And I know Masai Ujiri's comments are kind of circulating right now about the direction and what they might do with the team. Who knows? This team takes a very patient approach when it comes to things, and I imagine they'll give it some more time. We are now the 20-game mark of this Raptors team this season. They are 9-11. It's about where I thought they would be in terms of expectations. I expected they would be about a 500, maybe a little bit under 500 team, and that's what they've been so far. And when you have a deeply flawed roster in terms of floor spacing, creation, redundancy in some certain areas, you're going to have nights where you look incredible, like they did against Phoenix, and you're going to have nights where you look pretty damn bad, like they did against Brooklyn, like they did against Orlando, and like they did tonight. Now, the one side of things is like defensively, you can control your fate. You can play good defense. And I think Darko Rajakovic mentioned that this team needs to have an identity on that end. They didn't show that tonight. So you need to be able to clean that type of stuff up. The Raptors are top 11 before this game in defense. That probably drops tonight. In order for this team to be decent, you need to be a top 10 defense. They need to hang their hat on the defensive end, and they just weren't able to do that. They haven't been able to do that over the last couple of games. I think that comes down to consistency. I think that comes down to sometimes your offense can bleed into your defense in the sense that when shots aren't falling, when there's stagnation on that end, you're maybe not able to, get stops as well. And then on top of that, when the other team is getting stops on you consistently, they're running in transition, and that's a whole ordeal as well. So there's different factors to this, but ultimately the Raptors struggled tonight to defend the Knicks, and the Knicks are a really good team. They made them pay for it. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. They don't play for another little bit. They're off because they were eliminated from the in-season tournament. They don't play until Wednesday, I believe it is, against the Charlotte Hornets. And yeah, that's it. Thank you very much for tapping in. And if you enjoyed, tap into the Objective Basketball Podcast. We talk about the NBA. We talk about all things NBA related, including these New York Knicks. So thank you very much for tapping in. We'll see you guys later. Bye.